All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today at the Bookkeeper's Year-End Bootcamp. Super excited to have you here with us today. We're just going to wait a few more minutes for people to join the session. I can see plenty of you coming in so far. Do me a quick favor, if you can just find the chat box located at the bottom of Zoom and just go into the chat and either let me know whereabouts you're joining from, or if you've already been to one of the sessions earlier that Gabrielle was running, just let us know what was your biggest insight or takeaway from that session. There was so much valuable advice that Gabrielle was sharing, and I'd love to know what some of the takeaways were for you all. So greetings to Jenny, Portia, Bonnie, Meredith, Allison. Nice to see a few names here that I recognize as well from the Pixie community. We've got Kim, Amy, good to see you all. All right, thanks for joining. Good to see you as well, Kevin. So before we get started, we've just got a few housekeeping rules to share with you all. If you haven't already done so, please remember to mute your phone, close your emails, lock your door, and most importantly, focus. You know, you've given up the time to be with us here today, and we really appreciate that. And I'd love for you to get the most out of your time and the most out of the time that you have with Jenny during this session. Please remember to use the Q&A box for any questions. We'd love to have as many questions as possible, but please feel free to put them in the Q&A box. That's just going to make it really easy for myself, Amanda, and Jenny to keep track of all the questions as they're coming through. But equally, please feel free to use the chat box to chat amongst yourselves. Just remember that if you are going to use the chat box, then you need to change it from sending to just hosts and panelists to either send the chat to everyone or all panelists and attendees. I'm not quite sure which one it will say, but you should have the option to change it there at the bottom. And last but by no means least, please remember to get social. We have a hashtag for the bootcamp. It's hashtag year-end bootcamp. So please feel free to tag us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or anything else. Use the hashtag. We'd love to see all of the posts on there. So we've already gone through the first session of our bootcamp today. We had Gabrielle Fontaine from bookkeepers.com sharing all about how to streamline your 1099 prep for less stress and more profits. That was an awesome session. I don't know if you guys enjoyed it or not, but I found it incredibly insightful. But now we're moving into the second session of the day, and very shortly I'm going to be introducing Jennie Moore from Practice Ignition, who's going to be talking all things accelerating cash flow and scaling your firm going into 2022. Just a quick reminder that we do have some VIP passes up for grabs today to the Successful Bookkeepers Summit, which is taking place on the 2nd and 3rd of December. Each VIP pass is worth $149, and it gives you instant access to all of the recordings from that summit, along with an exclusive 2022 planning workshop that they're organizing. And if you want to be in with the chance of winning one of these VIP passes, then all you need to do is stay along till the end of this session. But if you want to get some extra opportunities to win a pass, then feel free to tag us on social media using the hashtag year-end bootcamp, and also tagging Use Pixie in the post as well. All right, so without further ado, Jenny, I'm going to hand over to you. It's time for your session on how to accelerate cash flow and scale your firm into 2022.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much, Jordan. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. I saw some familiar faces, or at least names thereof, in the chat. And for those that are new, it's so nice to meet you. So today, as part of the boot camp, we're going to talk about how to accelerate your cash flow and scale your firm in 2022. And a lot of this will be focused on a digital strategy approach, which is really how we're able to do that moving forward. So a little bit about me. We will just keep it light because we got a lot of details to get into today. So my name is Jennie Moore. I am the head of accounting for Practice Ignition here in the Americas. I have my own practice. My firm is More Details. We've been in practice for almost 16 years now. What I love about what I do is being able to solve problems for clients, researching applications. I endorse social learning, so I love being able to teach about my knowledge and all that good stuff, and also advocate for our industry as well. So that's a little bit about me. And let's get going right into the presentation today. And like Jordan said, please feel free to use the chat. I do have Amanda from a Practice Ignition. She's amazing. She is going to be in the Q&A in the chat as well, and we'll bubble up for when we have poll questions and all that good stuff. So hopefully I won't be speaking too fast. I've only had 2 espressos today, but we have so much to cover. I have so much information to share. So today's agenda is going to be pretty simple in the sense that we're going to focus really on the digital strategy, which is really what is important for us as accounting professionals when we have our own firm to be able to get new clients, and how we increase our cash flow show is getting new clients and being efficient and having our workflows and all this great stuff. So we're really going to camp on that subject of digital strategy quite a bit in the first part of our webinar today. Then we'll talk about some tips to eliminate the accounts receivable. Ooh, it's just a chill, accounts receivable, and improve your cash flow for your firm. And I'll also provide you a little bit of tips that I've learned in my last 16 years in which I've been able to scale my business as well. So first up, let's get right into it. What is a digital strategy? Can anyone put in the chat what they feel a digital strategy is? Don't worry, there's no quiz here. There's no shame in this game. We're all in this to learn together. When I first came into the scene of social media, I didn't really know what, what it really was. I learned later what I was doing was a digital strategy. But if I were to like really camp on a digital strategy here, think of it as a plan. So the emphasis is to, really start thinking about how you're going to drive that traffic to your firm. And a digital strategy is really what can help you be the source of that new revenue and bring a clients in, and then you optimize and work on the efficiencies with apps like Pixie, for instance, to really maximize your workflow. But for me, if I were to really think about how do I get new clients now, I've just written a blog that will be going out live through Practice Ignition. It's really important, to attract the new clients that we have a digital strategy now. So we'll go a little bit deeper into this. When we have a digital strategy, what we're able to do is attract those new clients. And then when we're attracting those new clients, we're able to collect those payments, which creates that digital footprint. And then also it creates that strong cash flow as well. So if you're looking at your
Jennie,
firm and you're
interrupting. We
sorry.
can't see your slides currently. I'm not sure if you're meant to be sharing them.
Oh goodness. Thank you. I apologize, everyone.
I wasn't sure if you were just doing a great job at the introduction there.
Thank you. Can everyone? That's 101. Can everyone see my screen now?
We can, yeah.
Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Don't worry, you didn't miss out on too many slides, so it's quite okay. Thank you, Jordan, and I apologize for not being so attentive to your little voice there. I was so excited. Lovely. So what's really important to create that cash flow for your organization is to start thinking about what that digital strategy is. Okay. But more importantly, what you may be thinking to yourself right now is why? Why do I need a digital strategy? I'm already overwhelmed with my client workflows. I'm already overwhelmed with all this compliance stuff as it's relating to different subsidies and grants, as it's related to economic circumstances that businesses are going through right now. But really, the digital strategy will help you outline and create a clear path to your strategic goals. And it will also help you determine the benchmarks to hit and the tactics that you will need in order to get those successes. So, very similar to anything in life. Like I know within my own personal life, I live by a goal system. I love journaling. I have certain goals. And really, in order to obtain a certain objective, you need to be able to map that out. And that's really what the digital strategy helps you do, is it helps you find that path. If you were to think about it from your bookkeeping side, for instance, within my organization, how do we finalize a client's month-end report, right? How do we get to there? Well, the path to that is the workflows, right? It's reconciling the bank account. It's doing the management journal entries. It's making sure the integrations from the different apps are bringing in the data. It's very similar to a digital strategy. You have to have a clear path to get there. Okay, so a couple of individuals might be kind of wondering here, when you have that direction, then you start creating that creation as well. And that really is what helps you with that competitive advantage. Now, there's more than enough work out there for us as accounting professionals. So I don't like thinking of it like, trying to compete with your peers. I firmly believe that there's more than enough sand in the sandbox here. But really what's important is when you start having your digital strategy, what you want to do is think about what are your competitive advantages, okay? And for some people, those might be niches or niches, right? What is it that makes you you? What is it that makes your firm Amazing. And that is what you want to start telling through storytelling through your digital strategy. But let's get started with our first poll question, and that will help us understand the audience a bit more. So maybe Amanda, can you pop up the first question, which is, when was the last time you updated your website? So we're going to get a little bit honest here, and this will help me sort of gauge the audience and where we need to go. Okay, lots of responses are coming in fast and furious here. I love it. Okay, I think I got a pretty good mix here. Amanda, do you want to kind of tell us what's going on here?
Yeah, lots of exciting updates. So we have 20% who updated it this month, 26% several months ago, 22% they haven't updated the website, and 32% don't have a website. So it's pretty split across the board.
Okay. Thanks, Amanda. That was really good insight. So, what's really important is when you have that digital strategy is you also want to, you want to be able to have the website, right? You want to be able to have a website. You want to be able to have a social footprint, if you will. So I'm really going to kind of speak to that 20% there that the 31% that don't have a website. I'm going to really try and cater the rest of this webinar to you because I feel like this is a really important thing for us to camp on. So I'm just going to check in the chat here. Can everyone still see my screen? Because sometimes when we launch polls, the screen likes to bebop around. Hopefully, yes, awesome. Okay, so just like I was saying with personal goal setting, like I'm a big personal goal setting. I think this is the only type of paper I use in my business. I am a paperless virtual practice, but my goals are on paper. And, very similar to how I would conduct my life and my personal goals. I have a active life. I'm an adult figure skater. I play drums. I got 3 kids. We, all this good stuff. There's a lot of personal life that goes on. And so those are goals and objectives that we have for that. The same thing needs to be applied to my business, which is more details. Like how do I get new clients? How am I going to do that? Because using the paper approach isn't always effective. It's the digital strategy. But what you want to do is set these realistic goals. So think of, the benchmarks and the tactics is really what's going to create those successes for you. So a digital strategy will help you determine the benchmarks to hit. Okay, so let's say, what is that benchmark you want to hit? So if you're an accounting practice or a bookkeeping firm, whatever label we want to put on it, maybe you're like, you know what, I really would feel more comfortable if I brought in another $3,000 a month. I would really feel comfortable if I did that. Monthly reoccurring revenue, so MRR, of an additional $3,000 a month would allow me to maybe hire a virtual assistant or take some time off or focus on creating a new revenue stream for my firm. So that is your benchmark. That is your goal. But what is the tactic that you're going to use to get that? And if you were to break that down, that tactic, it's one thing just to send out to the universe, hey, I want this benchmark. I want this goal. I want this reward. But how are you going to get it? And so that's the hard work. That's the grit, right? And so the tactic would be, well, if I want $3,000 in additional revenue a month, if I brought in 3 clients, each valued at $1,000 a month, then I could hit that target. Okay. Now I'm being hypothetical here, and this is a very realistic thing for you to be able to do. But, that's what I want you to start thinking about when it comes to your digital strategy. You also, before you just go and start putting out social media, what is your benchmark? What is it you're trying to do? Okay. And the same thing, then how are you going to do that? And that's your tactic. Okay. So this is the biggest one I want. Like, this is like the big shiny lights right now. Let's, pop some fireworks and some champagne. This is something I really, really like getting through, especially I'm speaking to you, the 31% that don't have a website. So if I could take the 31% of you into, a close little huddle here, I really would like you to listen to this particular piece, which is the majority of people right now are viewing content online. Right? They're viewing it right here on this mobile device. Maybe not this exact mobile device, but they're looking for you on this mobile device. They're looking for you. And there's 31% of you that aren't even in the room right now because of the not having a website. Okay. And really that's how individuals are looking for accounting professionals right now. They're using their tablet, their smartphone, their iPad, whatever the case may be. And you need to have that online presence. You need to be there in order to know, for individuals to know that you're there. So that the paper methods, which I used, as well in my 16 years, having the paper billboard, even the business cards, I don't have business cards, paper brochures, have not been effective ways for me to scale my business and increase cash flow. What has been the biggest contribution to my growth has been embracing this digital strategy, this weird term that I didn't even realize I was doing when I first came into the digital space. So for those that aren't having a website, I strongly suggest that you look at that, and hopefully through some of the slides today, we can encourage you to be able to embrace that challenge. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is your quirkiness. That's right, your quirkiness. You're looking at me, I got some quirkiness going on, okay? So it's the same thing with you. What makes you different? What makes you quirky? What makes clients want to work with you? What is it that you do? What makes you different? What makes you different from my bookkeeping firm in Ontario, Canada, that caters to clients throughout Canada and the US? What makes you different than me? Not from a competitive standpoint, but what makes you different? And what makes me different from you? Okay. And it's that differentiation that you really want to start spelling out through your social media. So it's one thing to have a Facebook account and a Twitter account and Instagram and TikTok. I'm getting there with TikTok. I'm overwhelmed at the moment. But it's one thing to have those channels. But if you're just putting out a message that's very, agnostic, then you're getting agnostic responses back. And then you're becoming, a bookkeeper or an accountant to various industries or various, it could be different attributes. You need to start paring it down, and everyone uses the words niche and niche, right? So what is that for you? What makes you different? And it could be the industry you serve. It could be your personality. It could be your workflows, right? Or it could be all of those types of things. I'll let you know a little bit about my product differentiation. So we wear our hearts on our sleeves. We're open. We're candid with our clients. We believe in communication first and foremost. We believe in quality over quantity. So we work on a smaller client set that, yes, does have a higher monthly recurring revenue because we want to be able to give them that attention. Okay. We focus on digital agencies, consultants, and e-commerce clients. And so our messaging goes out for that, and that's what we attract back in. So it's important for you to start thinking about what are you putting out there into the digital space, and how are you going to get that back? What makes you quirky? What makes you different? And then the other thing you want to do is really think about everything that you put out there, whether it's a tweet, an Instagram photo, on your website. What instructions are you giving to your customer or your prospective customer to do next? So they see you, they see your quirkiness, they see your brand, they see how amazing you are. Maybe you're into doing, complex tax returns or trusts or dentists, or I don't know, like maybe there's something really unique about you. What is that call to action? And that's really important in everything that you put out. It's not enough just to say egotistically, hey, I'm Jennie Moore and this is what I do. You need to really focus on, hey, this is what we do and this is how we can help you. This is how you can get a hold of us. Okay, so maybe it's something as simple as having a call to action on your website that's a little bit different from that contact us form. Maybe it's quoting your website on a tweet or developing a hashtag. Like I said, my firm is More Details. My last name is Moore, so it's a little bit of a pun. And our hashtag is Get More. Okay, so maybe it's something unique for you. You want to make sure that people are having the instruction to get back to you. Okay, poll question number 2, Amanda. Sorry for not giving you enough warning, but what I'd really like to know is, from the audience here, and we have a lot of people on this call, how many of you are using social media? And what I mean by social media, I'm talking about your LinkedIn, I'm talking about your Instagram, I'm talking about Facebook, I'm talking about Twitter, I'm talking about whatever else they're going to come out with next. How many of you are using social media? Oh, we're getting a good mix and a good response. Thank you everyone for taking part. Look at this poll. It's going great. Yes, and for business. Sorry, I should have clarified. Yes, everything I'm relating to today with the digital strategy is for business. Yes, please, for business. Okay, I think we got a good mix here. Amanda, do you want to kind of indicate the responses there?
Almost 40% don't use social media for business.
Okay.
We'll just
Gotcha.
and show the results.
Okay, awesome. Okay. There we go, guys. So with this digital strategy, and I can see with many of you not having a website, and there's no shame in this. Okay, there's no shame at all. But when you don't have that website and you're not using social media, you're not in the biggest pool of where people are looking for you. Okay, and we can see through how events are handled right now, how it's very complex because of restrictions due to COVID. What is your next step to get more clients? And what is that next step to secure more cash flow? It starts with telling people who you are. It's about telling that story. And so social media is a really important tool to use. I started using social media, a little bit of a personal story. I was a mom of 3 young kids at home, and I didn't have a lot of interaction, a lot of adult conversations, if you will, because 3 kids kept me pretty busy. So when it came to my business, I used social media as an outlet to find other accounting professionals. It was almost a therapeutic process. But what I later found by doing that is that was the beginning of a digital strategy. And that was the beginning of being able to communicate and socially learn, and people being able to see a brand I was starting to cultivate. Was I perfect at it at first? Absolutely not. But just putting myself out there and, looking at other individuals in my industry and other customers that I had, what challenges they have, just being active and learning. The social learning you get from social media is quite valuable. And it's something I still do today. So I'm just going to put a quick link here. If you guys are interested in a coffee chat, I do have these 15-minute coffee chats because I love having quick chats. Feel free to book a little 15-minute coffee chat with me. If any of this is seeming overwhelming, we can take the conversation and we can give you a bit more insight on that. I'm in this to help you. I'm not in this for sales. So if there's something I can do to be helpful to you, please feel free to reach out and we'll have a quick coffee chat. So let's get started. We've talked about this digital strategy. I think I've hammered it through quite a bit, why it's important. Let's start getting to the how. Okay, so what are the simple tasks to begin and the strategic marketing plan? Okay, and I just want to get right into it. I got a ton of speaker notes, but I feel like I just really want to get right into this. So if there's one thing that your very first step is, so for those that don't have a website, maybe you don't have a brand or a logo. Okay, a brand is what people recognize you as when they see you on social media. And it's not just, the color of your hair and the glasses you wear. It's your brand, it's your business. It's something that's identifiable other than you. Okay. So what's really important is to have a logo. And if anybody has seen my logo with more details, it's a pinwheel. It's a pinwheel. And it's something that I've picked that's been very personal to me, and it resonates with me. The pinwheel is a bit childish in the way because I started my business with the 3 young kids at home. It also is continuously evolving, which seems to be our industry, and it's fun and exciting, and it changes as, the wind can go different ways. And it's been something that's always resonated with me. And there's much more to that story. So for me, a pinwheel was really important to have. And it's something that's identifiable. It's a little quirky. The colors are very personal to me. And that's something you should be creating as well as that brand logo. Something that if somebody doesn't recognize maybe your company name or you and your name, but they might recognize that pinwheel, that logo you have. Okay. And to do that, there's quite a few things to keep in mind. Keeping it simple. very simple. A lot of people like having complex designs. Keeping it simple, keeping it memorable, but something memorable, okay? And timeless, something that's not going to change in the next 5 minutes of social media, or the next 5 years. What's something timeless? Is it versatile? Something you can use on different social media platforms, different websites. You don't want it to be overly complex. And, a lot of people might be wondering like, okay, Jennie, this is great. How do I get a logo? Go to Canva. Canva, C-A-N-V-A. We use Canva like you wouldn't believe in our business. Canva is amazing. You can create some stellar content out there and a logo, really great stuff. So there's tons of resources out there. Just pick something and get started. Now, this is a biggie. This is a biggie. If you don't have a website, you probably don't have a domain. Okay. And when you start thinking of your brand, you really want to make sure that you're securing your domain as well. So for me, more details, going out there, securing that domain is really important. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I didn't secure the moredetails.com when I first started because I had no idea that I would be successful. I was just working from home. It was a side business. I didn't think this was going to go anywhere. But if you're looking at, securing your domain right now, think about where you're going long term or where you want to go. Think about the saleability of your business and really secure the domain name. So if it's a .com, for instance, I only did the .ca, okay? And now I have an individual willing to sell it to me for an absorbent amount of money, the .com. Learn from my mistake, okay? Secure your domain before you brand your business, before you name your business. Look at your domains and make sure it's something that can really resonate with you. And there's tons of opportunities out there to securing your domain name. You got GoDaddy, you got Bluehost, you got lots of opportunities that are out there. Okay, the next one is you want to make sure that you have an easily customizable website. So I'm seeing in the thread here right now, some of you already have domains. Perfect. Amazing. Love it. So that means you have your email going out with a domain. That's great. Okay. That's perfect. The next thing is creating a customized website. Now I have, in my time of 16 years, I have rebirthed 3 websites, each one of them equally painful. And I finally settled on one. So I had a highly customized website before, very expensive. Then I had another one that wasn't so customizable. It was difficult, but it had a great blog. And now, things have moved around. I've actually settled on Wix, W-I-X. Wix. Okay. Or you can use WordPress. There's lots of websites where you can get started right now and really create something that's really, really neat. And for me, what's important, if there's any advice I can give you as a practice owner, is have it easy to use, something you can easily update. Okay. Something that makes sense to you, that becomes enjoyable, something you want to do. You want to take part in this digital strategy. So make sure the tools you are using are going to work for you. And of course, there's going to be different arguments, which platform is best and this and that. Just make sure it's something that resonates with you, that has ease of use for you to be able to send out through social learning what makes you different, what makes you quirky, so that you can attract those clients. Okay, step 4 is making sure you have that clear call to action in your, on your website. So, there's several things you can use. You can use the contact form. Maybe you have a landing page. Maybe you have I know on mine, you can book an optimizer session right away and it goes through a Calendly link. It books in my calendar. It sends out a Zoom link. It confirms it in my calendar, confirms it in their calendar. Then there's a Stripe integration to collect payments, and the Stripe's collected and then it's bounced back and posted into Xero. Really big workflow, but that's a simple call to action that happens right within the website. So maybe for you, it's something else, but you want to make sure that you're not just putting out there, who you are. You want to make sure that you're having them go through, this is how you get in touch with me. And if you see some of my blogs at the below, it will say like subscribe or, connect for your discovery call. Really important. We have it more than just, the upper right-hand corner that says contact us. We have it peppered throughout our website for people to get in touch with us. And it's really important for you to think about that as well. Now, remember what I said, there are so many people looking for you on a device like this. this device, this tiny little device is our new pool of clients. It's this thing, and it's so tiny. And it's so tiny, which is why it's really important that any website you create is mobile. And I don't mean just mobile as in that they can see it on their mobile device. I mean that it actually streamlines to a mobile version, that it's mobile optimized. Okay. And if you're not familiar with this, some people call it mobile friendly. It's really important that if you're going to create a website yourself, that you educate yourself on how to make sure that it's mobile friendly. That way, have you ever gone to a website and it looks really weird on your phone? That's because it's not mobile friendly. And since most people are looking for you on that device, you want to make sure that it's that. So please ensure that your website is mobile friendly. Okay, this is when you start putting out the hooks to, get information, to get people coming to your website. You're advocating for your brand. And I know a lot of people, struggle with finding time to do this, but it's the creating of content. Now, I'm not saying you have to post a blog every week, but maybe plan one blog a month, 12 blogs. That's your content strategy. What are 12 things you can write about next year? I think you have 12 ideas in your head. I think you have so much knowledge. You know of so many apps, whether it's QuickBooks Online or Xero or something else. I have no idea. Or maybe it's a cute e-commerce app with Shopify. I don't know. You have so much knowledge. I know that there's 12 things you can share. So creating content is really fun. And I do this a couple of different ways. I have my blog. I also have YouTube where I create a video. And we use those videos within YouTube in our blogs as well. We also use those videos and share them out on social media. So there's different ways. You want to make sure that whatever content you're going to create, that it's not just going to be a flash on the pan, that it's going to be used throughout many different channels, and it's what we would call evergreen. It's ever present. It's something that's ever relevant. Okay, so creating something like this is helpful because when people are looking for you on here, they're also going to check you out. Okay, they're also going to see maybe your LinkedIn profile and see what your background is. And wouldn't it be nice if you had a video on there on how you cater to e-commerce clients? Nice, right? They want to be tantalized a little bit to get to know you a bit more. So with the social media that I've put out, the prospects that come to me already know me before I ever have that first word with them, because they've already looked at my videos, or they've looked at the website, or they've read something I've written. They've already become familiar with me and our style. And it's a great way. If our style isn't going to meet their style, then they don't get in touch with us. And that's great. Okay. Because there's a certain personality and a certain niche that we have. We want to attract that type of clientele. So that's one thing that I find helpful with social media is, although it first started out as being that relief for that mom at home with 3 kids, it's now amplified to what I can see as being a digital strategy where people get to know our brand better and how amazing we are, and then come to us. Like our latest lead came through Instagram. I don't know, like bookkeeping is not that Instagram worthy. It's tricky to do it, but we've been able to do it. And we had a lead come through Instagram, right? So think about what it is you do. This is a big one on our website, right at the very bottom. We put out our testimonials. What are our client testimonials? Because it's one thing to say, we're awesome. Okay. And I know you're awesome. And I know you have clients that give you that high five or that pat on the back to say, hey, thank you so much for that. When they give you that praise, that's the time to say, hey, do you mind writing a testimonial for us? Maybe on, Google or LinkedIn, or maybe you just want to email it to me, or hey, can I capture what you just said here and put it out on social media and reference you? Having that out there is another way for people to validate how amazing you are. And when people see that, they're more inclined to develop that trust before they pick up that first discovery call with you. So I'm a big advocate for those testimonials. Okay, so we've gone through those steps, but the next thing is, driving the organic traffic to your website. And what you really want to do is you want to convert that viewer that's kind of hanging around, checking you out, into a paying customer. Okay, that's what you want to do. And so I want to go back a little bit. That's why it's really important on your website to have it peppered throughout how to get in touch with you, how simple it is. So maybe it's having that Calendly link. I love Calendly. It syncs nicely to my calendar. We run Office 365. Of course, it does, for Google and etc. But I love that. I love it where people can just book it in. I can put parameters in it so they can't, there isn't like Jennie's available all the time. It's just there's certain ways, and I find it really important to do that and to convert that client to that. But let's talk a little bit more about what organic traffic is, and I'm not talking about carrots here, organic carrots and salary and stuff like that, although I love that stuff too. But what's really important for us as accounting professionals is sometimes we're a little frugal. I'm frugal. I fully admit that I'm frugal. And when I want to cultivate clients to come to me organically. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can put out paid advertisements, okay, which are good too. There's a, call to action. You have to be very, very centric on what it is you're doing. But the other thing that's great is the organic traffic. And the organic traffic is what you're doing to tell your story on social media. So when we talked about who is using social media and 36% of you aren't doing that, when you start doing that, you're going to start cultivating this organic way where people are going to want to get in touch with you because you sound so amazing and you really sound like you know how to solve these problems that they're having, and they want to hire you and retain you. Okay, so organic traffic comes from, maybe I'll put out a video on YouTube, or I'll put out a blog, and I post it on Twitter. Okay, actually, I don't post it. I have an employee named Denise who is amazing. Amanda loves her. Denise will do that. But that will happen, and then it brings organic traffic to our website where somebody will fill out a lead generation form, or they'll book that discovery call, or maybe they'll pay for that optimizer session, whatever the case may be. So that's what the intent is. You want to try and get people organically to your website as well. So like I said, it's not enough just to be social. So for some of you that are on social media, it's like, yeah, I got Facebook. Yeah, I got Twitter. I got Instagram, but I'm not getting any clients from it. Okay, that's great. I'm so glad that you've at least opened the door and you've come into the room. Okay, you've opened the door and you've come into the room where these potential clients are. Okay, but that's all you've done at this point. What you need to do in order to drive the organic traffic to your website is start using the social media as a means to communicate. So like I had mentioned way back with, 16 years with the kids, I was using social media to communicate with apps and different people in industry. You probably do it within your Facebook groups, right? What you want to do is get social. Right? Nobody likes, someone at a party that sits there in the corner with, the little plate of munchies no, get social. You're in the room, get social. And so using social media is really important. For me, I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great source for us to find our ideal client, which happens to be the e-commerce, the digital agencies, and the consultants, right? But maybe for you, it's a different channel. Now, does it mean you have to use all of those channels? Absolutely not. I would, hope that in some time you would use all of those channels, but think about where your client is right now. Your ideal client, where are they right now, and which social media platform? So if you like catering to restaurants, I'm thinking Instagram and TikTok. Okay. If you're thinking maybe engineering firms, well, I'm leaning towards LinkedIn. Okay, so there's a couple of different things to think about. Just focus your energy on those particular different areas. So, everyone kind of thinks about, social media. What is social media? What is this marketing? And really, it's just another form of marketing. It's internet marketing. It involves, you creating content, you sharing content. And it really is just to obtain those goals, right? What were the benchmarks and the tactics, right? So the social media, if you want to gain 3 new clients, well, it could be really tough doing that without a digital a digital footprint, right? So having that, if you're wanting to get 3 new amazing e-commerce clients, then start writing some great blogs on e-commerce, right? Maybe the latest integrations into a certain platform or a data bridge or something, whatever the case may be. Put that intent out there to get back. That's the tactic, right? To get back that benchmark. Okie dokie. So some of you may be kind of wondering, okay, with social media marketing, like what would be an example? It sounds so hard. So I'm just going to kind of take you into, more details here for a minute. But for me, social media is fun. It's part of what I do, and it's part of how I advocate for my brand. And I always have this device with me. So I'm always capturing little photos. Like this is my husband and I when we're traveling. And the picture on the left is, a cup of coffee that I'm having on my veranda. Okay. So it all starts with maybe capturing a photo. Okay. Being highly visual and capturing a photo. And then the next step is going to that favorite place of Canva. Remember I talked about where you can create your logo. Well, creating a social image is next. Okay. So maybe you just want to put up the photo, but maybe you want to create a little bit more of a campaign with it. So modify that photo using Canva. Now for us, I'm not sitting down at my computer and scheduling out content all the time. I don't have time for that. I don't. So we use Loomly. Now there's many other options that are out there. And what I love about Loomly is it can schedule to different platforms. It can different times. I can change the messaging. It's really neat. I get a preview and all this takes under 5 minutes, which is great. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do is when I'm capturing, these particular, the social media and people are coming to me and maybe they're downloading a workbook I created or a bookkeeping checklist. That's another one that I did recently. I'm also capturing the emails, the leads as well through MailChimp, which is a really great integration. It's a great way to start building that list where maybe somebody can't afford your services right now, but maybe they will down the road. And this is just a nice nurture way to keep your brand present and socially educate as well. And this is really easy and efficient stuff that I've been able to use that literally starts with a picture and telling a story. And maybe that I'll link in that, maybe that really nice article I read, or maybe I created a blog and put my own perspective on it as well. Okay, Amanda, let's launch our next poll question, which is how do you capture leads on your website? I'm kind of curious.
Launch this next one.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Oh, lots of people are engaging here. I love it. It's just like seeing a speedometer go. Lots of people here. Okay, so I can see, and I know we're kind of getting close to the end. So I can see here that like the majority of you are using the contact us form, and that's a typical baked in feature that happens with most websites, right? And then many of you are not capturing leads likely because there's a certain percentage, there's a high percentage of you that don't have a website right now. And a couple of you have a mix. So there's several ways you can look at websites now where it's not just the contact us form. Think about, and I saw, I think it was Meredith here in the chat without the clear call to action, right? Think about taking that contact us form or a link or a calendar link and peppering it throughout your website. Okay, it's like salt and pepper, right? You don't just want it static there in the upper right-hand corner. You want to entice people. Like if they're seeing something that's really neat, don't make it hard for them to get in touch with you. Make it super simple. And so that is the one thing that I like about having a clear call to action. We've actually been experimenting with having a live chat as well, which is a little tricky because there's only so much time in the day for myself. And team members as well. So it's been a little bit tricky with the live chat, but it's something to consider as well. Okay, so let's move on a little bit more for the tips to eliminate accounts receivable and improve your cash flow. I think we can all understand, we preach it to our clients. Hey, you want money to pay for that sales tax return or that new truck for your delivery people. You need money. You got an aging accounts receivable. It's the same thing for our firm as well. What we need to do when we look at our cash flow is really think about, why are we building something that's having a negative effect on our cash? And usually that is the aging receivables. Now, more details. I've been a long time user of Practice Ignition before becoming the head of accounting for Practice Ignition. And before using Practice Ignition within my own firm, I was aging receivables like you wouldn't believe. And we were, working really hard to get work done, to wait for a check to come in the mail. And it was hard. I spent a ridiculous amount of time communicating with clients about payments and what their client expiry or credit card expiry was. And it was just a lot of busy work that I didn't have time to do. I at that time, believe it or not, I could only work 22 hours a week. 22 hours a week. And so it was really difficult with the 3 kids. We had figure skating, we have all this good stuff in our life. Chasing accounts receivable was not in my workflow. So that's when I implemented something to fix that. And I also changed our policy. Our policy was not to extend credit anymore. I put my full heart and effort into, getting a client set of books up and running. And so I want to ensure that our payment is also provided upfront and so forth as well. So when a client signs our digital engagement in Practice Ignition, they put in their credit card information. If you're in the US, it's ACH. If you're in Canada, it's called direct debit. And we get paid right away. Sometimes we will do an installment plan if we're dealing with a lot of catch-up work. Actually, ironically, with an e-commerce client that we just won, I gave him the option, do you want to do an installment plan for 6 months on the 1 year of data that you're behind on? Or do you want to pay for it up front and we'll give you, $200 off? He opted for the paying up front with $200 off, which is great. So now we're working on the data. We're focused on that. We're not focused on the passive aggressive emails that go back and forth on collections and wondering when we're going to get paid. All that stress is gone now. And all I worry about and all my team worries about is getting the work done. That's it. So one thing to improve cash flow is to stop the bleeding, stop extending credit, and develop a firm policy. It's easier said than done, is what some of you may say. But this is how you're going to strengthen your cash flow. And sometimes that does take a bit of a mindset shift as well. The other thing that's been really important to ensure that we have a strong cash flow is having clear rules of engagement. What are we doing? And what are we getting paid for? And that is engagement letters. So when I first started 16 years ago, I didn't use engagement letters. Oh my goodness, no. It was awful. And what I was doing everything, and everything was getting out of scope. And yes, I was on a pitiful hourly basis. But it's still, I wasn't being compensated for my value because there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many hours. And so what I learned from moving to Practice Ignition and really embracing engagements is we had clear rules. This is what we're going to do, and this is what the value is. And if a client comes to me or my team asking us to do something different, that's awesome. It's called scope creep. I know a lot of you just did a shiver down your back about scope creep. Scope creep is good. Scope creep is positive to your cash flow if it's managed. Okay. So one way we've been developing with using engagement letters is managing that scope creep. So when the client asks us for more, we go back to the engagement and do a change order. And we easily do that within Practice Ignition. So our goal is to take on a client and grow with them. Okay, not amortize our value as they grow, which tends to happen a lot. And that's some of the pitfalls of value pricing and fixed fee billing. You want to make sure you have a clear engagement, and that's what protects your cash flow as well as your workflows, as well. Okay, and I had mentioned earlier, the other way that we secure our cash flow is by collecting those payments up front. That's just how we operate. That's how we operate. And very rarely do I have an issue now where someone does not want to input their credit card information into Practice Ignition or provide their direct debit information. They just know now, because we've articulated through our discovery call and through our nurturing process, this is what we do. And they have seen the value. They've seen the value through our digital strategy. So it's like credit card down. Let's get this pain figured out. Okay. And if they're not willing to pay for my services up front, I just thank my lucky stars that I dodged another bad apple. Okay, because I'm not willing to put my team and my heart through a lot of work not to be paid. So that's one thing that we do as well. It sounds a little egotistic, but we collect those payments up front. Now, I'd mentioning scope creep. I'm going to tell you how we manage scope creep really effectively within our organization. And this is a real life situation that happened while I was on vacation. So as practice owners, I'm sure while you're on vacation, you're probably checking your emails or checking in on your team. And it's a sin. Sometimes we have to do it just to make sure that everything's okay. Judge me if you will, but that's what I have to do. So I'm camping in the middle of the woods with my secure internet provider, which is AT&T, and I like it. And my team notifies me via Slack, hey, and I'll just do it incognito, Mr. Smithers is asking for this. I'm like, oh, okay. And so my team is responsible for communicating with me through Slack if there's something different than what they're expected to do. We call those workflows, right? So Pixie is workflows, right? If there's something that is outside of what your team is supposed to do, their job should be to go to someone to say, this is different. And your job is to go, is it scope creep or is it not? And if it is scope creep, that's for you to communicate with the client and create that change order. So for us, what happened while I was camping, I'm literally sitting at my little dinette. I have my coffee. I'm checking in for my 30 minutes that I do in the morning. I see that Mr. Smithers has scope creep and I'm like, yeah. Awesome. And so I communicate with Mr. Smithers to say, okay, sounds like you're growing. That's awesome news. We'll be sending you a change order to make sure that we have this in our workflows. Kate and Cherry are on it. We're going to have this deployed, but I will need this digitally signed. And guess what? Sent that out. And by the time I got back from my hike with the kids in the woods, and I checked in just to make sure that digital engagement was already signed. Okay, so that's how we manage scope creep. Whatever is different from the workflows, from the recipe, okay, is something you need to heavily manage because especially if you're on fixed fee billing or value pricing, if you're doing more and more and more work for the same value, your profit margin is going to dwindle and so is your cash flow and you're going to get burnt out. So it's really important to manage scope creep. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of tips to scale your practice. We call it the triple P approach here at Practice Ignition. We had a great team. This is not something I can take credit for. This is our team. And when they came up with this, I'm like, yeah, this is so true for a practice owner. So 3 Ps to keep in mind when it comes to growing your business is to follow this approach. So the first thing is people. Okay, if you're a sole entrepreneur right now, maybe you have 5, 10 clients. I don't know. You probably got everything up here and you're doing okay. Okay, you're doing okay. Okay, you're probably not making the 6 figures yet. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Okay, but the first thing you want to do if you want to move forward, if you want to scale, is you need people. You need people to do that. Okay, really good people. You need to be able to have other people to delegate the tasks to in order to work on your business and less in it. Now, I work in my business as well. I consider myself a working manager because that's what keeps me relevant. I know I can solve a client's problem because I actually did that integration of A2X from Shopify into Xero, right? Like I actually did that. My team was also involved in that, but for that one client, I actually did that. So people are still really important, right? For you to focus so that you can start creating the strategy to move forward. The other one that's really important is processes, and that's where Pixie is, right? So creating the processes, what are the tasks that need to be done? Okay, and maybe how they need to be done. Okay, writing everything out. When I first hired my first employee, I made a big mistake. I had everything in my head, right? It's like, oh, I know this client. Yeah, it's all up here. And you don't hire mind readers. They can't like put a little USB into your brain and extract all that knowledge. You need to extract it and you need to write it down. Because what if something were to happen to you? Or what if you just want to take a vacation? Okay. So having your processes and your workflows written out are really important. And yes, it's daunting. And yes, it feels awful, but you're going to love it once you do it. And think of creating those templates, right? What are your templates? How can you rinse and repeat? If you know your ideal client is e-commerce, digital agencies, and consultants like me, your workflows are rinse and repeat. Yes, there's little nuances and differences between each client, but the core workflow should hit some sort of straight line, right? So really important stuff. The next one is the platforms. Okay. So it's really important. It's not enough just to, have your people and your processes. You need platforms as well. So you can have your workflows in Excel and you can have your engagements in Word. Okay. I've done that. I failed at it. I lost a $12,000 client of yearly revenue by using Word. There's a blog out there for it. You can read it on Practice Ignition, and it's a true vulnerable story of how I screwed up. It's one of the reasons why I adopted Practice Ignition. So the other thing is it's not enough just to, write this stuff out and put it in a journal. It's to use a platform. So that's your Pixie, right? Or if it's your engagement, that's your Practice Ignition, right? Whatever the case may be, you want to use a digital platform to make it easy to do this stuff. Okay. So like I said, I've put my calendar link out there. If you want to know how to manage your proposals and your payments in one place, Practice Ignition has so much to offer. I love it. I absolutely love it. I live and breathe it. I get excited every time I go into the product, and I love working with our product team to make enhancements. Please feel free to reach out. And we can connect and chat a little bit more. But to recap, everyone, I want to make sure we have some time for Q&A. We talked heavily about this digital strategy, and I know I really hammered it in on you. And for many of you, you're not even in the room, and I hope that you come into the room by having a digital presence, because that is where you're going to get clients. That's the number one question I get asked. Jennie, how do I get bookkeeping clients? Jennie, how do I get tax clients? That's it. The digital strategy. You have to be online to get online clients. Okay, does that make sense? You need to be online. You need to be on Twitter, have a Facebook page, whatever the case may be, to get those online clients. And that's what took me out of my small rural town in Ontario to be able to serve clients, from my home in the country, surrounded by grass and hay, to be able to serve clients throughout Canada and the US, because I use social media. I stumbled into it, but that's how I was able to move into this direction, to have amazing relationships and learn so many great things, because I showed up online. And you're already showing up online today by showing up for this webinar. So I hope that it helped you. We also talked about tips to eliminate the accounts receivable, creating that process, creating that shift. And also I gave you some tips with our triple P approach. So we have our final poll question. Love for you to reach out a little bit more. If you want to know more about Practice Ignition, we do have a trial. There's lots that can be enhanced within this experience to really wow your customers. It's actually, for me, Practice Ignition is more than an app. It's my sales tool. It's what helps articulate my brand for customers to know that I have solved my own onboarding problems. I've solved my own problems for my organization, and I'm able to solve your problems too. And that's mainly the big advice or feedback I get from clients is it made it so easy. And it's like, of course, because we make bookkeeping easy, and I'm going to solve your problems just as easily as well. So I hope that you'd be interested into doing that and not to worry at all. Okay, let's move on and let's look at some of the Q&A. So we'll probably open it up. We got Jordan, we got Amanda. I'm sorry, I have not been looking at the chat and the Q&A. I've been so excited to talk, but I will try and be quiet and listen to the question now.
No worries. Thank you very much for that presentation, Jennie. That was really helpful. We've had a ton of questions coming in, so let's start at the top. Somebody shared here that there's a website like CPA Site Solutions that offer a blog program offering written content. Is that a good or bad idea?
Well, I think it's always about all options in life. You gotta kind of, weigh the pros and the cons. I think original content is always the best, from your voice, from your heart. But that's not to say something is wrong or something is bad, right? One thing that I have found recently that's been helpful, and I'm kind of giving away a little bit of my secret sauce, I'll be honest with you, is content writing is tricky. And one app that I've really liked recently is called Jarvis, Jarvis. I'm not affiliated with them, so I don't get a dime every time it's said, but it would be nice. And it's a great way to kind of help you if you have some of those, hey, I want to talk about this, and you have some key points. It's a nice little AI app that can maybe help you in creating that content for you. And it can help you with blogs, Facebook posts, different things. So maybe if you're finding it difficult, I would maybe look at something like that, because at least it's original.
You just shared one of my secret weapons as well. I've actually been.
Oh, oops. I know, Jordan. I know. It's like, do I tell people this? I'm like, heck, why not?
Yeah, it's awesome. That gets a +1 from me as well. We've got a question here from Jennifer, who says, do you send new engagement letters to your clients every year?
Yeah. So for me, if it comes to a tax client, you should absolutely do that. Okay. And within Practice Ignition, not, promoting Practice Ignition, we call this thing called bulk rollovers. So you're able to make it easy to automatically send out 1,000 engagements in a couple of minutes. I spoke to this one CPA at a conference recently, and she was printing out all of her engagement letters and mailing them out. And it was quite a big process for her, because then she has to get them back and scan them and file them and all this good stuff. So if it's with a tax client, I would put that on, because you want to have that scope of date, right? If it's something like an advisory client or a bookkeeping client, you can create maybe a term, or maybe it just rolls over and it only changes if they incur scope creep. So there's a couple, there's no really right or wrong answer when it comes to those advisory side, but I would say if it's a tax client, I would re-engage and send that out each year.
Perfect. All right. Got a question here from Linda, and I think you might have answered this during the presentation, but what do you mean by get social? What do you do or say?
Oh, yes. Anything. So if you're on social media, let's pick one. Let's pick Facebook. Okay. Let's just, pick Facebook, because it was one of the first ones out there, right? So if you're on Facebook and you have your business brand that's out there, maybe you want to, put out a social post, put out a post about something that really resonates with you business-wise. So maybe you're using a really neat app that has solved a client problem. Well, maybe make a little comment about that on a post, and put a link to their website, or a link to your website if you've written some content on it. That's called getting social. It's putting yourself out there. It's sharing your knowledge. And that's really what I stumbled across in the very beginning when I was looking for that human interaction, is I realized I was being social, and it helped build a brand for free.
Nice. We've got a couple of questions here from Kevin about Practice Ignition. Firstly, does PI provide Canadian-based engagement templates?
Yes, absolutely. I myself and Joshua Lance, we're both the head of accounting for the Americas. We have created a series of service templates, and we also have engagement letters that are ready for you to use today. If you have your own engagement letter you want to use, it can be uploaded and can be used throughout. If you want to modify ours, you can completely do that. And as a secret sauce, maybe you don't just have one engagement letter template, maybe you have several. So for instance, coaching clients or advisory clients might have a different engagement letter than your tax clients. So you're able to have different templates as well, depending on your plan. And it's a really neat opportunity to create some efficiencies in your organization.
Perfect. Second question from Kevin, does PI allow clients or customers to choose a payment option between direct debit and credit?
Really great question. So the answer is yes. And what you can do is within Practice Ignition with payments, you can enable payments or disable payments. So if you're not comfortable collecting payments, I hope you would, because it makes it easy and it helps your cash flow. You enable payments. Now, further within enabling payments, you can indicate if they can pay you by credit card or ACH if you're in the US, direct debit if you're in Canada, or maybe only pay you by direct debit or ACH, which usually has a lower processing fee, right? or maybe you only want to pay by credit card. So there's some flexibility that's there as well. Within my firm, what I have done is I create competitive engagements and I enable ACH for my US clients and direct debit for my Canadian clients. And if they wish to pay me by credit card, then I change the scope to accommodate for that fee as well. So the answer is yes. And it's a great way. It just takes so much headache out of your workflows, and you'll love being able to work with your clients and less on payment details.
Definitely. And as well as the payments, does PI help to create those different tiers for pricing?
Yes. So we can have, that's an interesting question. So we have what's called the new proposal editor. I think I'm understanding the question correctly. So depending on your plan, you have access to different features. And what I love about the new proposal editor within Practice Ignition is you can have your clients select between different plans. Okay, so maybe you have a starter plan, a scale plan, and a professional plan. Not sure. Or maybe you call it, silver, bronze, gold, or whatever the case may be. Okay, you can create different plans for individuals to choose from, up to 3. And what I really like about that is it provides a little bit more power back into the customer for them to have choice. And from that, they can see what's available to suit their needs and their budget. And they also get to see a little bit more of what you do. You're able to showcase a bit more as well.
Nice. And final question then from Jeffrey. When you're working in a niche, what is the best avenue in the digital world to attract our industry? Is it an email campaign with our website the best direction to go?
Oh gosh, that's a really neat one. So I always think email campaigns are lovely because it does provide nurturing, but it also depends on what your click rate is for having things opened, right? So I would say, the email campaign is almost like the post effect of what you're doing up front. Okay, so you're collecting the information and you're sending out nurturing information, which may or may not transition into a prospect becoming a client. I think what's important is to tell your story and tell it on social media and collect that information of people that really like you in an email campaign where they can be notified, because people receive information differently. Some people don't like a lot of email in their inbox. But I love going on social media to see what my favorite apps are doing, right? So I think it's a balance between the two.
Perfect. And someone has just said in the chat here, would you consider tips, tricks, and light training as being social?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's through social learning, right? Like for me, anytime that we're able to help our industry or to help a client with the knowledge that we have is social learning. And that's literally what I stumbled into 16 years ago, looking for that human voice out there other than 3 kids screaming in my house. So yeah, I would say that it is very effective because that is a product of who I am today.
Nice. All right, Jennie, this has been incredibly helpful and insightful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
If
you,
anybody's
Jordan, for
got any
having me.
questions, what's the best place to reach you? Is it just the contact details on the screen there?
You got it. The details here on the screen, and I'll put in my little link here again if you want to just chat for 15 minutes. It's not about sales. It's about, hey, what knowledge do you have? What knowledge do I have? And in 15 minutes, let's see if we can figure it out.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you once again for the session. Thank you everyone that's joined us so far. We have our 3rd and final session of the bootcamp starting in about 20 minutes time. So I hope to see some of you there, but otherwise see you all soon.
Awesome. Take care, everyone.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.